Hey everybody, Sarah here. So today I was going to be the orange thing morph deep dive, but I just do not have the amount of time to do that research this week. So I'm going to go over the normal types video this week. It isn't one that everybody was asking for, but it is one that has been requested a few times. So I'm going to show you all the different things that you can get if you have just a normal corn snake. Remember to like, subscribe, share this video with anybody who you think might find it interesting or entertaining or educational, because the whole point of this channel is education on corn snakes. And also, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to all of our members. You guys have really helped this channel grow, and I appreciate you so much. If you would like to become a member yourself, it's $2 a month, and you get a lot of exclusive content like access to live videos after they're over, and I upload an extra video for members every single week, which is usually just kind of a little extra thing or two that I have recorded that either couldn't fit in a regular video, or it's just something fun that I recorded on my own, separate from everything else that I wanted to share with the people who are really interested in helping this channel grow. So thank you so much to our two newest members, Casey and Frankie, who are the most recent to join. You guys are awesome. And also thank you to all of my longtime members, Jelly Dots, Melissa, Raul, Black Tongue, Amy, Bridget, William, Robert, Other Amy, and April. You guys are amazing. Thank you guys so much for helping support me. And I know how tight money can be, so do not feel bad to anybody who cannot financially support the channel. That's perfectly fine. Being a member is essentially like sort of being a Patreon member. I don't have a Patreon, and so this membership on YouTube is the closest thing that I have right now. So anybody who can and wants to, I greatly appreciate it, but if you can't, don't worry about it. It doesn't take away from the channel. You guys still get all the educational content that you love. So I'm going to start out with photos of just a regular old normal corn snake. Just some normal corn snakes going on over here that really are just sort of nondescript wild types. Something that we wouldn't really put into any other category besides normal, just so you guys get an idea of like sort of a baseline of what we are looking for. So when we're talking about morphs, we're talking about anything that deviates from the norm. And in order to know what a morph is, you have to know what the normal looks like. And so that's what these pictures over here are showing right now, is just different versions of normal, all the way from baby, maybe all the way up to adulthood, so that you guys can just get a baseline for what a normal looks like. Now, the next few things that I'm going to talk about are actually morphs that are not localities that you can get in corn snakes. And so localities are going to be things like your Okeetees, Miamis, we'll get into those, but the morphs that you can get in normal corn snakes that are not localities are things like ZigZag, which is where the saddles go back and forth down the body of the snake. This is something that a lot of people have selectively bred for, and you can get some really nice ZigZag looking snakes. Another one that's similar to ZigZag but not exactly the same is Aztec, and that's where you do get a lot of aberrant patterns that are in the saddles of the snake that are not caused by anything, like I said, like a gene mutation or something like that. The next one is also in a similar vein, and it is known as Widestripe. And a lot of people do confuse Widestripe with stripe or pinstripe, so it's important to remember the difference between all of these. Widestripe is selectively bred to sort of have the saddles be stripes all the way down the body, but not actually have the stripe gene mutation. Now, it's a little bit more chaotic than your typical stripe gene mutation, or even something like a terrazzo, which is another form of stripe in corn snakes. But this Widestripe is not caused by a gene mutation such as stripe or terrazzo. It is something that is selectively bred for, similar to ZigZag or Aztec. Now, you can get a ZigZag or partial ZigZag or an Aztec or even a Widestripe out of parents that do not look anything like them, and you can even get normally what I would just consider an Aztec out of any breeding ever. This confuses a lot of people on how do we actually get these morphs if we have no idea when they're going to pop up and how they're going to pop up and which parents are going to produce them. The best answer that I have for that is once you get one, that's what you hold back and that's what you keep, and you continue to try to breed into other ones similar to it if possible, and that is why we call selectively bred morphs instead of actual gene mutations. Things like amelanistic, anerythristic, diffused, stripe, motley, all of those things are gene mutations that we can pretty accurately predict. You know, if you breed two motleys together, you're probably going to get all motleys, maybe some other things added in there on top of motley, but there's a good chance that, of course, if you breed like say two amelanistics together, all the babies are going to be amelanistic type. It's different when you're talking about selectively bred traits that are not mutations. So that's where I kind of draw the line, you have a trait that is not a mutation versus a mutation that also has traits, if that makes sense. I can go and do a deep dive pretty much on any one of these things and the history behind them. I'm not going to do that in this video. I just kind of wanted to show you guys all the different types that there are so that you have kind of, again, an idea of what's out there. There is also something known as a Borderless, which is sort of the opposite of an Okeetee phase, and we'll get into that in a few minutes. But Borderless can happen, again, in just about any line of corn snakes, especially if you have something descended from a Sunglow line. A lot of Sunglows originally did not have any borders, and that is still the case today. Sunglows do not have borders. Now, there's other things that make a sunglow, and I'm not going to get into that right now, but one of the main things is that is an amelanistic that does not have borders. And so when you have a normal type that is descended from one of these sunglows, there's a chance that they will have little to no borders at all. And so this is just something we call borderless. It's not something that's very common, and if you go and ask breeders if they have borderless corn snakes, there's a good chance that they probably aren't really gonna have those. Not too many people breed for that, but it is a thing that happens. And something similar to that but different is also frosted corn snakes. I've talked about frosted a lot. Frosted used to be the term for a hybrid between a corn snake and a gray rat snake, but since that hybrid is so unusual now and it's kind of uncommon to see, we even don't really use the name frosted for these hybrids that much anymore. It's mostly now just been the term that we use for snakes that have a sort of whiting out of their saddles, where that saddle just doesn't produce color in the middle. And again, if you go to a breeder and you say, do you have any frosted corn snakes for sale? There's a good chance they're not really gonna say that they will, unless there's maybe one or two that just happen to pop out of a clutch. I had that happen to me last year. I had a couple of random frosteds that came out of a line that just has never produced that before. It happens, but it's not something that most people are actually breeding for unless they're going into hurricane lines. I did a video on hurricane if you'd like to go check that out and learn a little bit more about frosted in the process. Now, really quick, I want to go over some terms that are technically normal type terms, but they're not something that is just like strictly corn snake. So when I say that, I mean something like root beer. Root beer is the hybrid name for the corn snake and Emery's rat snake normal type, if that makes sense. So if you breed a corn snake with an Emery's rat snake, you get that hybrid. That is known as a root beer. As long as you can trace any lineage back to the hybrid cross between the corn snake and the Emery's rat snake, that is considered to be a hybrid. And this hybrid has a name. A lot of hybrids do have names. Jungle is another hybrid name that we see. So if you see a jungle corn snake and it kind of has normal corn snake colors, there's a good chance that a jungle will not have super normal colors. Whether it's a California jungle or a Mexican jungle, that depends on the king snake that corn snake was mixed with. So jungle is another sort of normal term. You can add other things onto that, like amelanistic jungle, similar to we have like amelanistic root beer, which we call creamsicle. It's a little confusing, but remember that jungle and root beer, technically they are terms for the normal type, but those are hybrid terms. And I went over a whole video on all these different hybrids, so I'm not going to go into detail on that. You can click above if you would like to go watch that. Now I'm going to get into all of the localities, which is probably what most people wanted to know when they clicked on this video. So I'm going to start with like the main localities that have been pretty established in the hobby. The first and foremost has got to be Okeetee. That's probably the most common one that you're going to see, or one of the most common ones that you're going to see. The Okeetee Hunt Club is where these originated. They were originally bred and produced by Kathy and Bill Love. They have their Love line Okeetees, which is where Abbott got his Okeetees from. So all Abbott line Okeetees are also sort of originating in the Love line Okeetees. Kathy has described these Okeetees as having large blotches and thick borders and bright colors. Those are sort of the three main things that she really wants to accentuate with these. So she went and she caught some snakes in the Okeetee Hunt Club and selectively bred them for those traits, for the large blotches, for the bright colors, and for those dark, thick, tiger-like borders. Now, Okeetees have been bred for many years, and there are many different lines of them, and a lot of people have decided to focus on certain traits and certain aspects that Kathy was not necessarily focusing on. And so a lot of them may not have the thickest of borders, and a lot of them may have even more thick borders than what Kathy originally originally was producing. They may also have duller colors. So for example, we get the buckskin Okeetees, which do have those nice thick Okeetee borders that we see, along with the big blotches. However, the ground color is more like what you would consider tan or buck-skinned, like a deer skin color. Also gotten things like extreme Okeetees, where the brightness of the color and the size of the saddles are still pretty consistent with Kathy's original line. However, the borders have been accentuated so much over time that in some cases they are so big that they completely cover up even the saddles, especially down near the tail. Now, it is important as a buyer to recognize the difference between Okeetee Phase and Okeetee Locality. Many Okeetees in the hobby did originate from the original that were caught in Okeetee Hunt Club, but some of them can still have the same look and actually be completely unrelated. So if your breeder that you're trying to buy from or that you're talking to cannot trace back the lineage all the way back to the original Hunt Club Okeetees, they are probably more considered to be an Okeetee Phase and not an Okeetee Locality. And so we're going to talk about the split between that. You will sometimes see people have Okeetees for sale, and you see the nice big blotches, the thick borders, the bright colors, but they say, oh, I don't actually know if the ancestors of this snake originated all the way back at the Okeetee Hunt Club. And you can consider that an Okeetee Phase. That doesn't mean that it's any less beautiful or any less worth breeding. It just means that you might want to be careful to label your Okeetees as Okeetee Phase versus Okeetee Locality. Since there's been so many different breeders and so many different lines since Kathy originally went and got these snakes from the wild, there's a lot of different ones that pop up and look similar even though they have no lineage to the original line. And it's that way with a few other localities as well. And so just keep in mind that when it comes to Okeetee, unless that lineage can be traced back, it's probably going to be considered more of an Okeetee Phase, which is perfectly fine. Just kind of remember that difference. We have a similar thing going on with Miami. Miami is more characterized by its like silvery gray background color. However, if you get wild caught Miamis, a lot of times they don't have that stark silvery gray background color. I currently have a wild caught Miami in my collection, and she looks like your typical normal. She does not look like what we would consider to be a very nice Miami. Now, a lot of the original Miamis were caught around Miami, Florida, which is what they're named after. But since then, they have been interbreeding with other snakes around that area, and there are very few of those very nice silvery gray Miamis left in the wild. This isn't necessarily a sad or bad thing, it just is what it is, and I'm honestly grateful that we were able to get some of those silvery gray snakes into the hobby originally so that those lines can continue to be carried on and enjoyed as pets or breeders. So again, keep in mind with Miami that there's Miami Phase and Miami Locality. A lot of the very nice looking Miamis are originally from Miami, Florida, or they have ancestors from Miami, Florida, and so they still fit the bill for being Miami Locality. But many people have also been taking other snakes from different places that also have this silvery gray background and breeding them as Miamis, which would be a Miami Phase, not a Miami Locality. So just keep in mind that when you're labeling things or looking for labels on things, that there is the difference between the phase and the locality, and it's important to know what each one actually looks like and what to ask the seller when you're trying to figure out, like if they just say Miami, how do you know if it's a Miami phase or a locality? Well, ask the seller, and if they say they don't know, just consider it a phase instead of a locality. That's sort of the safest bet. Another phase that I want to talk about that probably should have been in the first part, but I kind of forgot about it, is actually the Milksnake Phase. This was a selectively bred type of Miami, and they were specifically bred to look like eastern milk snakes. And I think that they did a pretty good job. This is not a very common phase anymore. Not too many people are working specifically on this. It's much easier to just sell them as Miami Phase instead of trying to sell them as this Milksnake Phase. But a lot of people do kind of enjoy this look. It looks like a milk snake even though it's not phase. One more thing that I want to add about Miami before we move on is a lot of people are labeling het cinders as Miamis because of the way that they look. I went over all of this in my cinder video a few months ago. I'll link it above. I would highly recommend actually watching that. If you don't watch any of the other ones that I've linked above, that's going to be a really good one to sort of understand the difference between Het Cinder and actual Miamis. I do kind of dislike when people sell something as a Miami just because the Het Cinder sort of makes it look like a Miami, but that's just my own personal opinion. You guys are welcome to go to that video and share your thoughts. Future Sarah here. So one thing I forgot to say in the video when I was recording it the other day was banded is another option of things that are technically normals but have been selectively bred for a certain trait. Banded is pretty much where the saddles are bred to sort of go all the way around the snake and almost look like what you would consider to be a traditional milk snake looking snake instead of the eastern milk snake. So just sort of as a comparison, the eastern milk snake has more of the like blotches that stay up near the top, whereas other types of milk snakes have those bands that go all the way around. So banded corn snakes are kind of meant to look like other types of milk snakes. I'm going to move on to a couple other localities that we have here, the most notable being the Keys locality based in the Florida Keys. Most Keys are not going to be selectively bred of anything else. Just keep that in mind right now. Originally, Keys corns were thought to be a completely different species because of how different they looked. They were originally called the rosy rat snake, and then the corn snakes were different. If you would like to learn a little bit more detail on all of that, you're welcome to go check out my Terrazzo video. Terrazzo is probably the most popular morph that came directly out of Keys lines, so if you would like to learn more about Keys, I go a little bit more in depth in that video on that. But essentially, a Keys corn is based in the Florida Keys. They're usually a little bit smaller. There's a few different like sort of localities of localities. So there's Upper Keys and then there's Boot Keys, which are a little bit different, like looking, and there's a little bit different in size. So just kind of keep that in mind. They're all lumped in that Keys corn snake, but there are kind of sub-localities to that as well. Keys corns are usually a bit lighter in color. They don't normally have quite as bright of coloration, and a lot of them are missing many, most, or all of their belly checkers, which kind of makes them unique. Now we hear a lot about this Carolina corn snake. What is a Carolina corn snake? Well, the Carolinas are where a lot of the original corn snakes were caught. A Carolina is pretty much just what we consider to be a normal. There is no like definitive Carolina look. If you go to the north part of the Carolinas, you're going to catch snakes that look vastly different from snakes that are in the south part of the Carolinas. Some Carolinas look more like Miamis, where others look obviously like Okeetees, and then some just sort of look like nondescript normal wild type. But one that I did want to talk about that's notable is the Alabama locality. Alabamas are really uncommon. There's just not that many people breeding them. You just don't see them around very much, and they seem to vary quite a lot. Like they're pretty highly variable, so there isn't like a thing that we can say defines that locality as opposed to other things around it. Like for Okeetee, we can at least say they have thick borders. For Miami, we can at least say that they have, you know, a silver or gray ground. And even for Keys, we can say that they typically stay a bit smaller and they're slightly more orangey in color with, you know, maybe missing belly checkers. But when it comes to Alabama, there's very few like definitive obvious things that define what an Alabama is, but I'll go over a few of them. So right now I'm actually going through some things in this book. This is my copy of my second book. If you're looking for corn snake morph books, I have two. They're on my website as ebooks right now. Corn Snake Cultivar Compilation, volumes 1 and 2. The first volume goes over gene mutations like amel, diffuse, typo, things like that. And then the second one goes over localities, which is kind of what we're going over now, as well as other selectively bred things such as pinstripe motleys instead of regular motleys, or cubed stripes instead of regular stripes. So there's two separate books. If you would like those, use the code NORMAL and you can get 10% off for the next week while this video is up. So from the Friday that this video goes up to the Friday that the next video comes up, you'll be able to get 10% off on the books if you would like that. So I'm just going to read an excerpt from this. I know it's kind of weird to read an excerpt from my own book, but I did do the research, and so I might as well just kind of tell you about it. Alabama originated in Jackson County specifically. Two corny people were the ones to originally work with them. When they hatch, they look very anery looking, and then the more ideal look for them when they grow up is that they have a very dark metallic silver background color with a sort of brick red or dark red-orange saddle. Now, there are a couple of other somewhat notable localities that I'll try to go over. I'll try to add pictures if I can find them. If not, it is what it is. I will do my best. So one thing I wanted to mention was the Cleveland County, North Carolina corns look actually a lot like Alabama corns. They do have that sort of metallic background, and they do have those like brick red or maybe burnt orange colored saddles, but their colors are a little bit more green. They have almost a green tone to them a little bit, and it's more of a muddy or muddled, not such a stark look as the Alabamas. There's also some in Tennessee. We see a Tennessee locality that looks almost like a mix between the Alabama locality and a Miami locality, which is very interesting. They have these sort of orangey saddles with a kind of muddy-ish looking background. If you looked at it at first, you might think it's a Miami, but then if you look a little harder, you're not really sure. And remember, all of these localities are based on just like generalized wild caughts in those areas. These are not ones that if you just go to a breeder and say, I would like a Tennessee locality corn, they're probably not going to have it, but these are just cool ones I thought I would throw in. There is also a Kentucky locality of corns. They look like pretty typical normal corn snakes. However, they do stay a little bit smaller and they're really uncommon. Will Bird is one of the few people who is working with them, and he is making sure to keep the wild population up. He will occasionally catch some wild caughts, breed them in captivity, hatch the babies, and then release them just to try to keep these populations up because their environment is kind of being taken away from them like a lot of animals, unfortunately. One other locality that is really, really unknown and really, we're not really sure what to call it, is the extreme locality. Now, this is different from extreme Okeetees, and again, you're not going to be able to just go to any random breeder and say, I want an extreme locality corn snake. The originals of these were caught in Estero, Florida, and they are very brightly colored, almost orange. They are very hypo looking, and I don't know anybody who's actually working with them anymore, but Dave Partington did give me the story and photos of them. To me, they look like ultramels or lavas or some other weird type of hypo, but after some breeding trials, he found out that it's just another type of normal, and so it's very interesting to see this variety, especially coming out of Florida. You have everything from this extreme locality that looks like a very bright hypotype, almost like an ultramel, and then you get kind of the Keys localities, which are also a little bit more orangey, but not quite as bright, and then you get something like Miami, which is completely different. It is really interesting to see all these differences coming out of one place. That is all we have for today. This video has gone on long enough. I really appreciate you all being here. Again, thank you so much to all of my members for being here. You guys are amazing. And if you made it this far, you're my secret audience. So comment down below the word secret, and then I'll know that you made it this far. And I really appreciate you being here because that's awesome for anybody in here who's my little secret audience. We're going to do this from now on. We're going to find a word and we're all going to comment that word in the comment section, and everybody else can just be confused. Everybody who didn't make it to the end of the video can be confused. Anyway, thank you for watching. I will see you guys in the next video, which will probably be about eggs hatching because I just had my first clutch hatch, and so now I can actually compile all those videos and make them into a whole hatching video for you guys, and I probably will do a hatching video for everyone each time a clutch hatches this season. So at least once a month you'll be getting an egg hatching video for everybody, and the members are going to get their own special video as well. So thank you for watching. I'll see you later.